Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Kingdom Hearts Final Mix. In the last part, we continued through Deep Jungle, getting a majority of the way through it in the process, and now it's time for us to go finish off this world. So at the end of the last part, we wrapped up saving the various gorillas from Heartless across the world, and after that, our goal is to head back into the tent and once again talk to Jane to progress onwards. Also, you can save while you're here if you want to. I do hope Mr. Clayton is safe. I'm sure he's just fine, unfortunately. Unless that was just him doing his dying breath right there, which, hey, if it was, not too much lost, admittedly. Our third and final bout against Sabor is, honestly, probably overall the easiest for a number of reasons. A, you have Donald and Goofy unlike the first bout. B, it's a wider arena than either of the first two bouts combined, really. And C, you're going to be a higher level no matter what. Though he does get a notable new trick this time around because you're actively working your way all the way through his health bar. Notably, towards around the latter half or so of his health bar, he'll start diving into the bamboo thickets and teleporting around the arena. Wherever you see a bunch of bamboo that's more directly towards the foreground than the stuff in the rest of the arena, that's where he can jump into and jump out of at complete random, really. Not too bad, but be careful because he can still do a good bit of damage, especially on Proud Mode, which is a bit of a running theme. Well, this could definitely be a rough fight. It's still not the boss fight of the world at large, though, so I'd recommend holding off on using any healing items you have in the meanwhile. It's actively around this point in the world, especially if you came here first. I would really recommend bringing Tarzan into your party rather than, say, Donald, as either his defensive spell can come in handy, or especially him using Healing Herb can really save you in a clutch moment. Especially if you're playing on Proud Mode. Again, Proud Mode in this game is really, really rough for a number of reasons we'll go into as we go. The White Fang is a very good early game accessory. It boosts the AP, strength, and defense stats of whoever it's equipped to by 1. I won't lie, I see that face every time I play this game and laugh a little bit. Kingdom Hearts 1 is alongside Final Fantasy X and probably being some of the most infamous cases of, well, I guess we can call Square Enix PS2 face, where characters will swap between high quality, fully rigged models for cutscenes with facial animation and just sprites that blip back and forth from each other like it's Mega Man Legends. I'm not complaining about it because ultimately it is a stylistic choice and it helps save on resources, but it does make me laugh in some cutscenes. Hey, where's Jane? What's wrong, Tarzan? Something coming. Jane, danger. Jane near treehouse.
Sounds like trouble. Let's go.
So we need to head back towards the treehouse once again. In specific, though, we do need to head to the room that was just before the treehouse, the giant green circular area just after the vines area. So, at this point, it's worth actively talking about probably one of the more infamous parts about Deep Jungle on a fan base level. Worth noting, basically every Disney world that shows up here in Kingdom Hearts 1 actively gets revisited in some form in some later game, with the exception being Deep Jungle. There's seemingly a number of reasons that kind of collate together for this, but it ultimately seems like either Disney and Square didn't want to risk using the world again, or there was a copyright concern, effectively. As far as people can tell, because there's never been an official statement about this as far as I'm aware, the Tarzan books and a lot of the early movies are actively public domain, but the character is still trademarked and protected by the writer of the book's estate, the Edgar Rice Burroughs Incorporated, effectively. They have full control on whether or not the Tarzan IP can be used in something. So while there are probably several other factors going into it, the end result probably ended up being either A, the estate didn't like how it was used here and said no to being used in further entries, or B, Disney and or Square didn't want to risk being told no, so they didn't even attempt.
Tarzan!
The big black fruit looks suspicious. So in this room we now have this giant eggplant we need to take care of. We need to whack it with several combos to loosen it. The power wilds that spawn here are infinite, so it's really not worth wasting your time unless they're actively in your way or you're about to die. The dialogue window at the start of this sequence kind of makes me laugh, though, because it very much indicates to me that in playtesting, people had trouble noticing this fruit was here at all, so they probably either took too long here and just got confused, or they ended up dying several times because they couldn't figure out what to actually do. I always love spotting little things like that in games, and there's not too many of them in Kingdom Hearts 1 off the top of my head, but that one definitely sticks out as an obvious case of it to me. Clayton came to the tent, and that's the last thing I remember. Clayton? Gorilla's trap. Turk ran. We must help the gorillas. So with that, our goal is now to head all the way back towards the campsite again. In specific, we need to head to the cliff area, and I'd really recommend saving when you get back to the camp this time around, just to avoid any issues. But yeah, there's actually a bit of a sad after effect of the Tarzan world not being involved in any later games, specifically involving one of the game's staff members. I'll talk probably more about certain staff members as we go, but I'm specifically talking about Jun Akiyama, who was Kingdom Hearts 1's event planning director and scenario writer. He was also in the special thanks for Kingdom Hearts 2, and that's his only credits for the series. The only reason he actively worked on this one is because he adores the Tarzan movie. Since the world never came back, neither did he for this game series in specific. And that's kind of sad, because there is definitely a different energy to Kingdom Hearts 1 in a couple of different ways the later games are missing out on. Also worth noting, Jun Akiyama is actively who suggested naming Squall Leon just to keep his identity a secret until he shows up. That's kind of funny.
No! Clayton?
Not Clayton. Not Clayton.
And now we gotta take care of Clayton and some extra power wilds. You don't need to focus the power wilds though, as just taking out Clayton is enough for right now. Clayton's got 3 attacks. He can shoot you with his shotgun outright, and that does a lot of damage and can come out of nowhere if you're not careful. He can whack you with his shotgun outright as well, and he can use a potion on himself to recover, I think, like 50 HP total. The real boss fight begins as Clayton is not alone. He now has a Heartless he's commandeered, the Stealth Sneak, who is going to spend a large chunk of the fight invisible. While Clayton is on top of the Stealth Sneak, he can still do anything he did during the first phase, and when we eventually knock him off of this chameleon, he'll do the same thing he did in the first fight to begin with. Worth noting, though, he can also use the potion to heal the Stealth Sneak in the case it's lower on health. Stealth Sneak's repping 4 different attacks, 2 physical, 2 effectively magical. The first physical move is that it can just turn around and kick you with both legs, which can come out of nowhere if you're not paying attention, but can also do a lot of damage. And it can also just outwardly dash forward and charge at you. Both those attacks can technically be prevented with a well-timed Keyblade strike, but I wouldn't really recommend it given this thing's size and relatively awkward hitbox in some cases. When it comes to special attacks, to use Pokemon terminology, it can bring its front hands together, which will send a giant shockwave forward. That's actually a really hard attack to dodge in my case, especially if you're trying to focus Clayton. And it can also charge up some beams from its eyes, and those will then be fired several times in a row, and they'll home in on you for a short period of time. You can end this fight really quickly if you just hard focus Clayton, as he's the main target. You don't need to take care of the Stealth Sneak at all. But I'd really recommend doing it for 2 reasons. One, you get more experience for beating the Stealth Sneak. Kind of a no-shit Sherlock there, I know. But also, the Stealth Sneak is just the larger threat. It does more damage and can do more things to upset what you're trying to do in the case you focus Clayton overall. Clayton can still interrupt you if you focus the Stealth Sneak, yes, but he's only got the 1 attack that can do that. And as long as Goofy or Donald are bothering him over there, he's probably less likely to do that. If you do enough damage, as you saw, you do knock Clayton off, and that is how you focus him. But eventually the Stealth Sneak will grab him again, but from there it's just a matter of hitting it enough until he gets knocked back off. While Deep Jungle is definitely the more complicated world to start with in terms of layout and general enemies between Sabor and the Heartless, I believe Stealth Sneak ends up being the easiest boss for the first chunk of the game, especially out of the first 3 selectable worlds. He's not as aggressive as one, or as hard to reach or damage as another. The really annoying thing for how I like to play this game, though, is that since I'll often come here first no matter what, coming here first on Proud Mode, you're at a disadvantage in several ways, and Stealth Sneak can really show that really quickly due to the damage both it and Clayton can put out. With that said, it's worth the trouble because the tool you get for beating Stealth Sneak will make all the other worlds in the game so much easier, including even the first 2 worlds, outside of this one. With the Stealth Sneak out of the way, we can just focus Clayton, and then we'll be done with our first proper boss fight. Well, I guess we've had several proper boss fights, but like the first one you can choose to go to instead of another. The really funny thing about Clayton when he's on his own is that he's a complete pushover. Because he has to either pause to use a potion or aim his gun, you can just get right up in his face and whack him with the Keyblade, and whenever you hit him with a combo finisher, he gets flung back far enough that you can just very easily get him into a lock. Or at least, he won't get much of a chance to do anything in either case. While I finish him off, though, worth noting, I brought up Jun Akiyama a few moments ago, just to mention what else he's worked on. He was an event planner, and I think planned the snowboard minigame in Ep.7. He was an event planner for Final Fantasy Tactics. He was the event director for Vagrant Story. A lot of that game's creative cutscene choices were due to him and his team. He was the script editor for Tactics Advance, event director for Final Fantasy 12, developed Crystal Tools for Square for Final Fantasy 13, worked on cutscene production for 14, event director for Worlds of Final Fantasy, and he was the event director again for Zodiac Age. Our ultimate reward for clearing Stealth Sneak is the Cure Spell, finally, which allows us to heal without using an item. I'll talk more about it in a few moments.
Huh? Whoa!
Tarzan, home.
Deep Jungle's actually a little bit of a weird world in another way. Once you beat the boss fight, you actively still have a little bit more exploring to do. We have to get through this waterfall cave to reach the end of this world, and there's even some items along the way, too. So, the Cure Spell. That allows you to heal yourself wherever as long as you have at least 1 MP. Future Me's probably either about to or already has chimed in with the way its healing is calculated, but in either case, it's always going to be a spell you're going to want to have around. That should go on a shortcut. I personally recommend holding R1 and using X to use it, but that's just because that's where I've always put it in every Kingdom Hearts game I can put it on a shortcut. The Cure Spell is the main reason I always come to Deep Jungle first, especially on Proud Mode, as well it has its own shared difficulties, especially on that difficulty. It's worth it to be able to heal at any time, even if I've run out of items. But that's another thing, but I don't think I've even talked about how you use items in this game. You have to equip them through the menu, so you can't be in combat to equip items. And you can personally select what goes in each slot. With that said, you do have to keep in mind that there's technically 2 inventories. The ones that your active characters have, and that one that's your stock. So you might have a lot more high potions than you think. You just need to check your active stock, not what's actively equipped to your character.
This is your home? But that means... Huh?
The waterfalls. They're echoing all the way here.
Friends there. See friends.
Oh, now I've got it. Ah, means heart. Friends in our hearts.
Heart.
Oh, so that's what it meant.
Friends. Same heart. Clayton. Lose heart. No heart. No see friends. No heart. No friends.
Sorry about what I said.
I'm sorry too.
Yeah, all for one, huh?
I'm coming.
But it's sure not the king's.
I think someone has a new admirer.
No. This would kill me.
What drew the Heartless to that world?
The hunter lured them there. It was his lust for power that was the bait. But it seems the bait was too tasty for his own good.
Yeah, he got chopped instead.
A weak-hearted fool like him stood no chance against the Heartless. But the boy is a problem. He found one of the keyholes.
Fear not, it will take him ages to find the rest. Besides, he remains blissfully unaware of our other plan.
Yes, the princesses.
They are falling into our hands one by one. Speaking of which...
Well, guess we'd better get going. Where is your ship, anyway?
Well, not too far.
Sora, Tarzan, friends. And for that, we get the Jungle King. Upgrade the Keyblade with keychains. Different keychains will add different effects to the Keyblade. Access the equipment menu to use a keychain. On top of that, we also get our Red Trinity, so now we can use Red Trinity marks located throughout the world to get other items. The gummy block that came out of that glowing hole, it's not like the others. Wonder what it's used for.
I don't know.
Maybe Leon will know.
He might. Back to Traverse Town, then? I want to be pilot. Hey, stop it!
Oh, come on, I'm the Keyblade Master.
I don't care who you are. No.
Hell, here we go again. So with that, our time in Deep Jungle is concluded for now, and our next destination is going to be heading over to Wonderland. I'm also going to speed up this specific trip because we've seen this route before. So while Donald and Goofy get outward new weapons to try whenever you find a new one for them, either from a shop or from certain treasure chests, Sora changes the Keyblade by changing the keychain hanging from it. Before we start talking about the Jungle King itself, though, let's talk about the base Kingdom Key so we have a point of comparison. The Kingdom Key boosts Sora's strength by 3 and is a middle-of-the-road length. It has a basic 1x critical hit ratio, but has a recoil of 30. Recoil is a hidden stat I think I've already brought up briefly already in the LP that determines how long the period between a weapon's use or blocking attack is, and how quickly they can do a follow-up attack from that block. I believe off the top of my head it might also dictate what attacks you can block, period, depending on values, but I'll have future me check my math on that because I might be thinking of something else in a later game now that I think about it. The Jungle King, in comparison, boosts Sora's strength by 5 and has a long length, so you're going to be hitting harder from further away. but it does have a recoil stat of 1, so you're actively going to be taking a bit longer between your attacks should you actively interrupt something along the way. It also has a lower critical hit ratio in general of 0.5x, so you're not going to be hitting crit hits as often if you like to rely on those in some cases. It's good for right now, but it's not going to be a Keyblade I use too much in the future. It's something I tend to kind of throw away pretty quick. So as you saw there, on my way back to Wonderland, I completed a gummy ship mission, specifically reaching Wonderland from any route while obtaining a score of 120 or more. Like I mentioned during our first gummy ship voyages, these are specialty missions added in Final Mix that give rewards for completing them, often gummy blocks themselves or outright blueprints for other ships. With that said, like I already mentioned, I'm not doing these in the LP at large. What few I complete are entirely incidental. This is the gummy ship mission menu though, so you do have an idea of what you can do and even what the difficulty of the mission itself can be. But that's about all I'm showing off with that throughout the LP. But with that, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 8, we're finally accessing Wonderland. See you guys then.